Yo guys, what is up? Max in our Borderlands 4 video, and today we got some of the biggest news and one of the biggest, most requested features that players have been asking for since the game came out, confirmed by the developers. We're gonna be going over everything you guys need to know. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let's do this. So I put out a tweet yesterday saying, fingers crossed Gearbox can have this implemented by the time cash arrives this month in Borderlands 4. A lot of players will be returning, and this will be a huge quality of life. I've seen so many like Reddit posts about how frustrating it is and how demotivated people are to make new characters and do new playthroughs and how poor the replayability of Borderlands 4 is. And Gearbox had mentioned that they were working on shared progression to transfer all of your like hard-earned progress, collectibles, map progress, fast travels, SDUs to new characters so that new playthroughs are a little bit smoother and a little less tedious. And that would be really important for them to put that in the game before cash launches. And thankfully, Grant, who is the associate creative director at Gearbox, replied, unless something drastically changes, it'll be there when cash arrives. Normally, I would refrain from commenting on future timelines, but I wanted players to know we are trying to reduce the friction swapping characters as much as possible. Now, this is awesome for a few reasons. One, Gearbox is usually very, very refrained on like commenting on like future stuff unless it is like very sure. And so, barring any crazy things, when cash launches, which is this month, along with the big expansion with Matt Ellie, we are going to be getting transfer progress, including your collectibles, map progress, fast travel unlocks, SDU tokens, vault fragments, glide pack upgrades, vehicle unlocks, and hover drive upgrades. This is so huge for a multitude of reasons. There is so much kind of like busy work in leveling up a new character in Borderlands 4 that just like didn't quite exist anymore. And so now when cash drops, you're able to basically, if you have progressed in the game a fair amount, you can ignore a lot of those tedious mechanics. And it also means if you want to prep for cash right now, you'd probably want to go in like 100% a character, go get all of your SDU tokens, go do all of your unlocks, get your hover drives upgraded, and then when cash comes out, you should just be good to go and just focus on leveling the character and playing them and not have to worry about all these kind of side objectives. Now, I did comment because I know that there are a lot of players that like this, but there are some players that will want to, start a totally fresh run on cash and not have the map unlocked or anything. So I did reply, that is great news. Any confirmation if this is something you can toggle so players who want totally fresh can experience that and players that want progression to transfer can get that as well. I was not able to get a response from the devs on that. Personally, I'm hoping that there is an option so that you can choose to do shared progress or not for those that want the like totally fresh experience on cash. If that isn't the case, it's not as big of a deal, but this is awesome, something we've been asking for since launch. So with cash coming to the game, and now it being, for the most part, confirmed that we are going to be getting SDU transfers and map progression transfers coming with cash, I was actually working on a video prior to learning this news, and I want to kind of talk about some of the things that I think would be really, really great for Gearbox to implement either around cash's launch or soon after, because to be honest, there's going to be a lot of players jumping in for the first time in a very long time. A lot of players, because of the issues with making new characters and the busy work involved with it, basically played one character, got them to endgame or beat the story, and then didn't come back. And so I know a lot of people are going to be coming back to experience the game either for the first time or the first time in a long time. And I still think there's a lot of like base game core issues that Gearbox needs to work on in order to make the new like player experience or the like new Vault Hunter experience on cash the best it can be. So the first thing to talk about is the like general leveling experience. Now, I don't know if Gearbox is going to let us start a level 30 cash or have to start at level 1. I'm kind of curious if there's something that you guys would prefer. I will be starting level 1 kind of regardless. I think it'd be a little weird to be able to start at level 30, but maybe not that weird. But anyways, the leveling experience in Borderlands definitely needs some work, especially with the transitioning into endgame. There's a lot of players that haven't done this in a while, so they might have forgotten how rough it is. But the first thing I want to talk about is XP farming. Now, there is a very big issue with the variety of things to do basically once you beat the campaign in terms of experience, with the biggest issue being Vile Bounties. Vile Bounties are the best source of Iridium. They are the best source of XP. They're the best source of specialization XP, and they're pretty dull to do. And so I am not looking forward to leveling cash by just spamming bounties. And so I would love for them, we've been asking for this since launch, to make more of the world activities farmable. The Gordello event, the like Comet Crash event. There's so many different activities that they have that exist in the world that are just playing zero role in the end game. And if I could, level up by doing the Gordello event that's in arena with a bunch of enemies and doing waves, that would be way more fun than doing Vile Bounties. So I think they really need to like spread out some of the rewards. I don't think it's super healthy that there's one activity that is the best for a ton of different reasons. You see this in a lot of loot games where they'll assign certain things that might be this activity is the best Iridium farm, but this activity is the best XP farm. It's definitely not healthy that one is so dominant in all of these factors. And if you want someone to enjoy their time playing Borderlands, I wouldn't subject them to like 5 hours of Vile Bounty farming. And so I'd love to see them kind of introduce some more ways to earn XP. Killing bosses right now is not very rewarding XP wise. Maybe make some of the vault bosses really rewarding for XP. So if you wanted to level up fast on cash, once you beat the campaign and want to get to 50, you could go kill the Vault Guardians. That would be something that could be rewarding. Those are hard enemies, and it would make it way more interesting having to like do something like that. Now, the next thing for Gearbox to change, that is, when I went through it, I wanted to put the game down. It was really, really rough, and I was hoping they weren't going to launch with this. But the like intro missions to UVH and the UVH rank missions, I think are really, really bad. I like the aspect of going around the world to go kill bosses, and then when you kill a certain amount of set bosses, then you can go kind of do like a level up mission to get to the next rank of Ultimate Vault Hunter. I think the core concept of that is really great. However, the missions to rank up in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode are not good, and they don't really test your build. For example, the like literal first mission you do is like every mob has centripetal and just pulls you everywhere. I just find that experience really, really frustrating. They said they weren't going to scale modifiers with difficulty, and that is like a point-and-blank case of it. You could still have this mission, but I would just reduce the amount of modifiers. I don't think modifiers make it more difficult. They just make it more annoying. The other one is the mission that you have to only headshot enemies. Once again, not really a mission that requires you to have a good build or anything like that. You just bring any gun that can shoot enemies. I just think these are really weird tests to rank up your character that could be so much better. And now there's things that they could do that could be more interesting for those rank up missions. And so everyone that plays cash that wants to get to UVH6 is going to have to experience these again. And so I'm hoping they make them a little bit better. It can still be the story mission. I don't love that. They shouldn't have dialogue in them at all. But I really do think they need to like rework some of the modifiers that roll on those. The next thing to mention is the weekly missions. These are like rotating missions that you go do a story mission and get a piece of loot to drop. This is an aspect of the endgame that's been weak since day one. Still very weak. I don't know who in their right mind would run through an entire story mission with modifiers on it with the dialogue to get one piece of loot, especially now that piece of loot that mission is giving you is a 21% drop chance. I could justify doing a mission that was 5 minutes long to get a bod that was a 3% drop rate, but now these missions are completely irrelevant. I think they should really introduce some sort of manufacture allegiance thing to them, where if you go do this mission, every enemy in the mission will drop Jacob's parted weapons or Jacob's enhancements or something like that. Some way to dedicated farm, manufacture specific things. So if you are going in and looking for, Jacob stuff, or you want to find a spread launcher, for example, the weekly mission might only drop like Jacob's shotguns, so you could find spread launchers, something to make them more interesting, but also make farming for like random specific things better. Right now, farming for purple class mods is really hard. Maybe you'd have the mission drop just purple class mods on a rotating week. So just things that players actually care about, because right now the rewards on them are just not worth. The next thing to mention for new players that are going to be jumping back into the game or returning is a new game plus. Players have been asking for this for a while. They could turn up the difficulty and let us experience the campaign again. Could add like slightly more vile enemies or a way to crank up the difficulty as well, so it's not all of the same things. The big thing is we do have the mission replay system, and I don't know how it is for y'all, but like I don't think the mission replay system hits as hard as just having the whole story open to you again, if that makes sense. Like there's a weird kind of disconnect with having to do it through a mission system versus just getting to experience the story again. And so hopefully they can add that so that if you do want to play with cash, level them up, and don't want to like grind, if they don't fix these things, you don't want to grind like Val Bounties, you can just run through the story again on like a harder difficulty, and maybe there'd be some rewards for that. The next issue to bring up is fixed bugged item cards and UI improvements. The UI has been a point of contention since Borderlands launch. We now have a lot of mods in the game. I don't use any, but mods that have added a ton of quality of life to the way that these things work. For example, there are now plenty of mods out there that when you hover a class mod, it will tell you what the skill points do. Right now, anytime you get a class mod, you get a bunch of random points, and a lot of the icons in Borderlands 4 look relatively similar. Like, for example, on this biorobot that I'm using, one is a guy doing this with a cone behind him, and one is a guy doing the exact same thing with a little circle below them. Like, they look pretty much identical. And so for players that are returning, especially because no one is going to be familiar with Cash's skills, like it might not be as big an issue to you right now, but remember that Cash is going to be dropping with like a ton of new skills that you've never seen before. You're going to constantly have to inspect every single class mod to figure out where every point goes. And so that would be huge quality of life. I would also love them to see them just include firmware bonuses. Like this rep could just say Deadeye, and then underneath it display what the ranks of Deadeye give me, or what my Deadeye 3 rank is. That would be another like huge quality of life, is just displaying what the different firmwares do, because once again, it's another click that you need to go into the screen, then inspect them. I just think this could be a little bit easier for players. The next thing I'd love to see, and I know that this is very hard to implement, so I'm not expecting it, but it would be great, is build loadouts. Players are going to want to try a lot of different things on Cash. They're going to want to try some build that might not work, and this build that might not work, and they're going to want to try to fiddle with different things, and specializations cost, still a little bit of iridium, especially while you're leveling, and to try different builds. It'd be really great to get a like dedicated loadout system. Maybe you could have a machine that's kind of like an armory that you could go up to and save your builds, and then when you want to switch, you go up to said machine, click on the different build. There could be like a cash cost for swapping between builds if Gearbox wanted to add that. Don't think it really needs to exist. Maybe you could use Iridium to buy build loadout slots. You'd start with like 2 slots and you could spend Iridium to get more. But would be a really, really cool system to allow you to experiment more freely with your different builds. Some other quality of life to mention is dialogue skip. I know a lot of players don't or have already gone through and experienced the dialogue of the campaign multiple times. They don't need to listen to it more than 5 times. The ability to skip dialogue or speed it up would be really, really nice. Also would love to see some extra bank space. That would be really cool. I'd love to see a firmware update that not only makes firmware more visible on the ground. Right now it's pretty hard to tell when you've got a big loot pile if something it has firmware on it or not. Like if you're standing at this distance, it's very hard to tell that piece of gear has firmware on it. You really need to get close. And I'd also love to see a machine that you can store firmware. right now a lot of bank slots or character slots are even being taken up just by having random pieces of gear with firmware for when you might need them. It'd be really cool if you could just dismantle a piece of gear and then store that firmware roll in your bank. So if you store up a bunch of Deadeye and you want to make a new Deadeye crit gun build, you could just go to your storage bank, grab those Deadeyes, and then put them on whatever piece of gear without having to transfer them from another existing piece of gear. And the last thing to mention is gear and balance adjustments. A lot of players that are going to be jumping into the game are going to be asking, yo, like, I played this build on launch. Is it still good? And like, for the most part, every build that was good on launch is still good, and that's fine. But the bigger issue is the amount of builds that were bad on launch that are still horrible. There are some really, really just underutilized skills, pieces of gear, part rolls, like, specific part rolls like Hyperion needs to have a purpose. And so I hope that when this DLC launches, they give us some like genuine game-changing buffs, because everyone's going to be playing Cash, but I would love another reason to hop on Harlow or hop on Amon and play with new build stuff. I'm assuming we're going to be getting new class mons, so that will be cool. But the like base skill trees for Blue Tree Harlow, Green Tree Amon, and Red Tree Vex really need some love. The other thing that would help a massive amount with this is Relics. I've brought this up a few times, but currently there just isn't much support for non-gun builds. If you want to play melee Amon, what enhancement do you use? If you want to play minion Vex, what enhancement do you use? These used to be build-defining item slots on certain builds with relics that they added. Well, they existed before Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 was my favorite implementation of them, but you had things that would chain lightning from melee attacks or proc stickies on melee attacks. You had the Unleash the Dragon, which would proc big fire dots. Like, melee Amon with the Unleash the Dragon would be way stronger. And there's like so many cool things that they could do with like a relic slot for like minion specific stuff. Oh, +1 to your minion count. You could have 2 troubles and it would do more damage. Something that would allow us to gear out a like minion action skill weird build that isn't guns in the enhancement slot would be really, really huge. I've talked about this before, but like, for example, if you're climbing the UVH levels and you're playing a gun build, you will get stronger, even though you don't get better loot in UVH. Like the gun doesn't do more damage on UVH 6 versus UVH 1, but you'll farm for better rolls. You'll get, a better like amp shield. You'll get a better class mod. There's so many slots that you can min-max and optimize for gun builds that don't have that same level of depth. There is definitely build crafting for like action skills and melee builds and stuff like that, but I don't think it has quite the same level of depth as it does for guns. And so I'd love to see them show some love to that kind of alternate playstyle. We had builds that just killed bosses with slams in Borderlands 3, and I don't think the build variety is really hitting to where they thought it was going to hit, mainly because things are so geared towards guns, and we really need some love towards the alternate build options and playstyles. Guys, that is going to do it for my kind of wish list for Borderlands 4. Overall, like, fantastic news. SDU transfer, map transfer, a Harvard Drive transfer, everything is going to be able to be shared across your characters, barring no like technical difficulties. Really hope that Gearbox can nail the landing on that and it works seamlessly. But so great for additional playthroughs, additional runs. I've honestly been avoiding doing any additional playthroughs, mainly for that reason. I'm not a huge playthrough person, but it just seemed like a big daunting task of making a new character. So big change there. Should be great. And we've also got Cash and a big expansion coming out this month. Things are looking up and up for Borderlands 4. I'll catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.